And with this, the DC Extended Universe comes to its sudden and abrupt end. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the 16th and final film in the DC Extended Universe, the 17th and final installment overall if you count Peacemaker Season 1. And of course, it's the sequel to Aquaman, which came out about 5 years ago. And when I first saw that movie, I loved it, because it blew my mind with all its grandeur. So Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom takes place, I believe it's 4 years after the events of Aquaman. Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, he's settled down with a family. He has a kid with Mera. He's also king of Atlantis. That's a pretty big job, so he's trying to balance his life. But David Kane, aka Black Manta, has returned for his revenge, this time wielding a new weapon, the Black Trident, which makes him more powerful than before. So now Aquaman has to team up with his half-brother, the main villain from the first movie, Orm, previously known as Ocean Master, to prevent Black Manta from destroying everything. Now, like I said, I love the first movie, so I was looking forward to this one. I understand why a lot of people were not, but that big main red-headed reason aside, I honestly was not a huge fan of this movie. I have to be honest. How? Why? What? This is Aquaman. This is one of my favorite DC superheroes, if I'm being honest. Or at least one of my favorite pockets of the DC universe, the whole kingdom of Atlantis. In case you didn't know, I've always had a soft spot for ocean life, which was a huge part of why I loved the first movie. Like I said, the first movie blew me away because I was like, holy shit, I'd never seen anything like this before. It was giving me something new that I really liked. The biggest problem this sequel has is that it doesn't do that at all. I'll touch more on that in a bit. I mean, Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry, Aquaman, I still love him in this role, because he makes Aquaman fun, and he has a blast playing that character. Because, I mean, you compare him to other takes on Aquaman, like you watch clips of Aquaman from Injustice 2, and you're like, this one's just kind of boring in comparison. I don't know what to say. I like an Aquaman that has fun beating the shit out of bad guys. That'll never not be at least a little entertaining for me. And then we have Patrick Wilson returning as Orm, who I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of in the first movie, because he was a really stoic, boring villain. In this one, I will say his character is given a lot more dimension. There are more sides to Orm than just stoic and boring. And really, we see that through the relationship he has in this movie with Arthur. Their chemistry, I gotta say, was really good. Because, I mean, they are brothers. So yeah, sure, they'll fight every once in a while, and they might not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, they are family. That's important, and I felt that was illustrated pretty well with this relationship. And it actually made Orm more interesting of a character, so that's a win. Now, as for Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as David Kane, Black Manta, in the first movie, he was the more interesting villain of the two. And so we all collectively said, make him the main villain for the next one. So they do that here, and nothing against Mateen, because I think the guy's a great actor, and I definitely want to see him in more stuff. But really, I wasn't a fan of the direction that this movie decided to take this character in, if I can say it like that. I mean, his motivation is still the same. He wants revenge for the death of his father. Makes sense, yeah, and he's going about it the wrong way. But this weapon he has, the Black Trident, there's something about it that I guess I don't want to spoil, but it affects his character in a way that I didn't really like. Partially it's because I felt it was written poorly, and another part is because I felt it's a cliche. I've seen this before a few times. Really, I like David Kane as a character, but I didn't like what the Black Trident did to him. That's as simply as I can put it. And yeah, let's just dive into it. If we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room, Amber Heard does indeed return as Mera, and she is in more of the movie than the marketing let on. She has a considerable amount of screen time. Really, I'm just letting you know that because, again, the marketing didn't tell you. For very justifiable reasons, of course, but hey, I'm just saying. Plus, she's still not that good of an actress, but at least we won't have to worry about that anymore. Really, the biggest flaw in this movie I already kind of addressed, and yeah, it's the fact that it doesn't really give us anything new that the first movie didn't give us. Like I said, the first movie blew me away because I'd never seen anything like it. This sequel, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, just feels like more of the same. The same huge scope, the same huge visual effects, although the action scenes didn't seem as fluid as they did in the first one. You know, in the first one, they had those long take fluid action scenes where you're like, this is so cool. This movie didn't really have a lot of them. I can't remember any, so they're just not as interesting to me. I mean, yeah, sure, there were a couple of times where something cool happened on screen and I, out loud, was like, cool. What can I say? I just really like the aesthetic of these Aquaman movies. But the fact that this movie doesn't offer anything new really translates to, I was bored for a lot of it. Which, again, how? What? Yeah, I was bored in a superhero movie that is Aquaman. Movies like that are usually my jam. But no, not this time. For most of the movie, I was like, let me guess, now this is gonna happen? Yep, I've seen this before. Look at that, a lot of pretty stuff, which I've already seen in the first movie. I'll say that about the visual effects, though. Sometimes the CG looked pretty cool. Other times, it did not look so good. I mean, this movie's a cartoon. So is the first one, really. But this one even more so, because you got all sorts of crazy shit here. But I personally don't think that justifies justifies bad visual effects. Cause I mean, Godzilla vs. Kong is a cartoon and I thought it looked pretty good. Just saying. No, this is just another Aquaman adventure with Arthur Curry and his brother, which is funny. In my video on the trailer, I made a comparison to Thor the Dark World, cause it is kind of similar and there is a point in this movie where Arthur calls his brother Loki. When that happened, I was like, okay, at least the movie's self-aware. Can't knock it for that. I know that this isn't the case, but about 2/3 of the way through the movie, it felt like the filmmakers just gave up trying because they learned that this franchise is coming to an end. So they were like, okay, this is now pointless, so let's just do something so it can cut to black and cut to credits. What's the point in even trying anymore? Kind of like Dark Phoenix. Very similar situation. Again though, I know that's not the case. I know the filmmakers in the studio were trying to make the best movie possible, but in my opinion, this one just fell flat. However, the score, composed once again by Rupert Gregson-Williams, is still great. It brings back all those themes from the first one that I loved. That Aquaman fanfare, that bum bum bum, ba da da da. That's a good theme, I'm gonna miss it. Black Manta's theme is back, of course. So for nothing else, there's some good music in here. But other than that, this movie does not have a whole lot going for it, unfortunately. The characters are fine, and sometimes the action and visuals are pretty cool. But the movie suffers from a boring plot that's been done before. Just nothing really got my attention. Nothing really got me going. Like at least Blue Beetle, which was criticized for having a cliche plot, had some awesome action scenes with an awesome suit, unlike anything I'd ever seen. This movie, no, I've seen it all before. It even gives Aquaman a new suit. It's a stealth suit. I've seen stealth suits before, quite a few times. Which is funny because he wears a stealth suit and it doesn't cover his head or his face at all, but still makes it invisible. How does that work? I don't know. For Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, I will say, wait until you can stream this movie online. And since I'm not going to make a spoiler talk for this movie, I'm going to use this moment to bid a very fond farewell to the DC Extended Universe. And I do mean fun because it did have its good moments to me. Also had its missteps. Really, it was divisive from start to finish. A very bumpy 10-year run. But hey, you know what? I can't wait to see what James Gunn has in store for us with his DC universe, starting next year with Creature Commandos. I'm optimistic for it, so I say bring it on. So, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, have you seen it yet? Not likely, but have you seen it? What are your thoughts on it, and what is your favorite installment of the DC Extended Universe? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!